Princess Grace Kelly, died today at age 52. The cause, injuries resulting from her car accident yesterday. She left a highly acclaimed acting career in 1956 to marry Prince Rainier of Monaco.
On a sun-drenched road twisting through the hills of Monaco, two stories of Princess Grace's death were born. The official one released by the palace, and a far more terrible secret whispered by a roadside witness, that her hysterical 17-year-old daughter was pulled from the driver's seat. This catastrophic secret was the culmination of a life built on illusions, from her fiery, clandestine affairs with Hollywood giants like Gary Cooper and Clark Gable, to the humiliating fertility test she was forced to pass to become a princess. The truth about the crash is inextricably linked to the dark secrets the Palace of Monaco fought to bury for decades, and tonight, we reveal them all. Before she was a princess, Grace Kelly was American royalty, born into the immense wealth and ruthless ambition of her Philadelphia family. Her father, the millionaire brick tycoon and Olympic champion Jack Kelly, was a man carved from granite who was famously stingy with his affection. He openly favored his other children, leaving Grace in a constant, painful search for the approval he would never give. This deep-seated need to prove her worth to a powerful, withholding man would become the defining and ultimately tragic pattern of her life. When she arrived in Hollywood, the studio system, in collusion with director Alfred Hitchcock, manufactured one of the most successful brands in cinema history, the Ice Queen. She was marketed to the world as a goddess of cool elegance and untouchable sophistication, a flawless blonde who was beautiful but remote. It was a brilliant piece of marketing, and the public became infatuated with this perfect, pristine image. It was also a complete and total fabrication. Behind the camera, the serene Ice Queen was a woman of fiery, almost reckless passion who shattered the myth at every opportunity. Her affair with the married Gary Cooper on the set of High Noon was immediate and intense. She was 22, and he was 50. This ignited a pattern of legendary romances with older, married, powerful men, including Clark Gable during Mogambo and Ray Milland in Dial M for Murder. Her attraction to power extended far beyond Hollywood, leading to one of her most shocking and dangerous affairs with the newly divorced Shah of Iran, Mohammad Pahlavi. This was not a simple celebrity fling. It was a serious romance with one of the most powerful monarchs on the planet. The relationship was so intense that rumors even claimed it put her on the radar of the CIA and also demonstrated her deep-seated attraction to the ultimate seats of power, a desire that would soon lead her to a different kind of throne. At just 25 years old, Grace Kelly reached the absolute pinnacle of her profession, winning the Academy Award for Best Actress. She had conquered Hollywood on her own terms, becoming its most elegant and sought-after star. She had fame, wealth, and creative freedom that actors dream of. It was at this precise moment of triumph that she made the shocking decision to abandon it all for a tiny, fading principality and a prince she barely knew. Part 2. The Price of a Crown. Across the Atlantic, Prince Rainier III was presiding over a principality in crisis. Post-war Monaco, once a glamorous playground for the world's elite, was facing financial ruin. Compounding the crisis was a treaty with France. If Rainier failed to produce an heir, Monaco would lose its full sovereignty and become a protectorate of the French state. The prince's search for a wife wasn't simply a matter of love. With his nation's future on the line, it was a matter of political survival. The idea to pursue an American movie star, championed by Greek tycoon Aristotle Onassis, was a ruthless business calculation. But before Rainier would formally propose, Grace had to agree to a shocking and humiliating condition. She was secretly flown to Monaco to be examined by a doctor to prove she was fertile and capable of producing the necessary heir. Only after she passed this clinical audition was the fairy tale romance allowed to proceed. The humiliation didn't end there. The House of Grimaldi then demanded a staggering $2 million dowry from Grace's father, the equivalent of over $20 million today. Jack Kelly was effectively forced to push his daughter's title, sealing the deal on what was less a marriage and more a magnificent corporate merger. The wedding of the century that the world watched was, behind the scenes, a multi-million-dollar transaction to save a nation. As soon as the vows were said, the fairy tale dissolved into a nightmare. Grace was instantly trapped inside a gilded cage, a prisoner in her own 235-room palace. She spoke barely a word of French, leaving her functionally mute and isolated from her staff and subjects. The suffocating grip of ancient royal protocol meant she could no longer take a simple walk, her every move now scrutinized and scheduled, cementing her as a beautiful but silent figurehead. Her isolation was made worse by a rival inside the palace walls, her new sister-in-law, Princess Antoinette. Ambitious and resentful, Antoinette had long maneuvered for her own son to be named Rainier's heir. She saw Grace not as family, but as a foreign rival who had shattered her plans for the throne. This deep-seated resentment created a constant source of friction, making Grace's adjustment to her new role within the palace infinitely more difficult. Part 3. The Unhappy Princess. The most devastating blow, however, came directly from her husband. Prince Rainier issued a royal decree. Princess Grace was forbidden from ever acting again, deeming her acting career as an inappropriate past that must be forgotten. To enforce this, he then banned the screening of all her films within the Principality of Monaco. In a single, cruel move, he erased her celebrated past and stripped her of the craft that had defined her entire identity, ensuring her only role would be the one he had chosen for her. In 1962, a lifeline appeared when Alfred Hitchcock offered Grace the lead role in his new thriller, Marnie. It was a dark, complex part, and for Grace, it was a chance to escape and feel like herself again. Rainier, seeing the financial potential, surprisingly agreed, but the announcement caused an uproar in Monaco. Facing public backlash, Rainier folded and publicly reversed his decision, leaving his wife not just trapped, but utterly humiliated and abandoned by her own husband. According to palace insiders and biographers, Rainier's moodiness was a significant understatement. The prince was known to possess a volcanic temper, capable of sudden, terrifying outbursts that frightened both his staff and his wife. He held a deeply traditional, almost archaic view of a wife's role. She was to be beautiful, dutiful, and subordinate. Grace's American independence often clashed with his authoritarian nature, leading to bitter confrontations behind closed doors. As Grace dutifully played the part of the serene princess for the world's cameras, a painful rumor became an alleged open secret among the European elite. Prince Rainier was rumored to be engaged in multiple long-term extramarital affairs, adding a deep layer of public humiliation to her private pain. The fairy tale marriage the world adored was, according to many close to the couple, just a hollow arrangement marked by profound loneliness and betrayal. Her 3 children, Caroline, Albert, and Stephanie, became the sole focus of her life. But even here, she found little peace. Her daughters, in particular, grew into fiercely independent and rebellious wild children. They openly clashed with the suffocating royal protocol their mother was forced to embody. Her relationship with her youngest, Stephanie, was especially stormy and fraught with conflict, foreshadowing the tragic mystery that would soon engulf them both. Part 4. The Final Days and the Crash. The last weekend of her life was spent at Rock Angel, the family's country estate. Friends who spoke with her said she was in the grips of a deep melancholy, feeling weary and trapped. The atmosphere was made worse by a ferocious, ongoing argument with 17-year-old Stephanie, rumored to be over her desire to become a race car driver. It was a tense and unhappy final weekend, culminating in a fateful moment that would change the course of history. On the morning of September 13, 1982, they prepared to drive back to the palace. The car, a decade-old Rover 3500, was so packed with dresses and hat boxes that there was no room for the chauffeur. Grace, a notoriously nervous driver who despised the treacherous, winding road, dismissed the driver and got behind the wheel herself. The question that has haunted investigators for 40 years is simple. Why? As the Rover navigated a treacherous downhill hairpin turn on the winding road, it suddenly accelerated. A truck driver following behind watched in horror as the car swerved violently, scraping against a low retaining wall. Instead of braking, the car sped up, smashing clean through the wall and plunging 120 feet down the rocky, tree-covered hillside, tumbling end over end before coming to rest. The heart of the conspiracy theory lies with a single witness, a local farmer named Sesto Lecchio, who rushed to the crash site, gave a statement that would ignite a decades-long controversy. He claimed that he pulled a hysterical Princess Stephanie from the driver's side of the wreckage. The farmer's testimony, which has been vehemently denied by the Monaco Palace and Stephanie herself, even included the explosive allegation that the teenager was screaming she had been the one at the wheel. This uncorroborated claim became the cornerstone of a dark counter-narrative to the official story. The response from the House of Grimaldi was immediate and absolute. A wall of silence went up as a total information blackout was imposed. The official narrative, that Princess Grace had suffered a minor stroke causing her to lose control, was confirmed and disseminated with breathtaking speed. To some critics, this wasn't a family managing a private tragedy. It was a sophisticated public relations machine going into overdrive to control the story before the truth could surface. Part 5. The cover-up? In the weeks following the crash, the mangled wreckage of the rover was taken into palace custody. For critics, what happened next was the final, damning act of a cover-up. The car, the single most important piece of physical evidence that could potentially prove who was at the wheel, was systematically crushed into a metal cube and scrapped. This permanent destruction of evidence ensured that whatever secrets the car held would be gone forever, fueling accusations that the full truth of the crash was deliberately buried. The second pillar of the conspiracy is the fact that no formal, independent autopsy report was ever released to the public. While it is true that the doctors at the hospital identified the cerebral hemorrhage before she passed away, making a forensic autopsy legally unnecessary, this omission was fueled by speculation for decades. To those who suspect a cover-up, the absence of a definitive public report is a sinister and deliberate choice. Inside a hospital room in Monaco, Princess Grace lay in a coma, with scans showing no brain activity. With no hope of recovery, a devastated Prince Rainier, flanked by his two eldest children, Caroline and Albert, made the agonizing decision to turn off her life support machine. On September 14th, 1982, the actress who became a princess was gone, leaving a world of unanswered questions behind. The funeral was a somber global event attended by royalty and movie stars. Yet, in a heartbreaking and deeply symbolic turn, Princess Stephanie was unable to attend. Confined to a hospital bed recovering from a serious neck fracture, she was forced to grieve in isolation. Her empty chair at the funeral became a pointed and painful public reminder of the accident's unanswered questions, cementing her central role in the tragedy. For 40 years, Princess Stephanie has vehemently and consistently denied that she was driving, describing the horror of trying to regain control of the car as her mother slumped over at the wheel. The public suspicion has haunted her entire life, making her the second victim of that day's tragedy. Whether she was the driver or a passenger, she has carried the trauma and the weight of the world's accusations ever since that fatal morning. Part 6. Legacy and Legend. In the end, two irreconcilable stories remain. The official narrative tells of a tragic, random medical event that claimed the life of a beloved icon. The powerful counter-narrative whispers of a terrible accident, a panicked teenage driver, and a sophisticated royal cover-up designed to protect a child from lifelong public guilt. The palace maintains one story, but the lingering questions have allowed the other to flourish. The House of Grimaldi has, to this day, masterfully upheld the official narrative of Grace's life and death. They protected her perfect image in death, just as the Hollywood studios had protected her in life, ensuring the fairy tale remained intact. What remains is a story full of holes, a 40-year-old mystery, and the inescapable feeling that the world was sold a beautiful lie from the moment she became a princess. So who was the real Grace Kelly? She was a paradox. A woman of fire and passion who was sold to the world as an icon of ice-cold perfection. She was a master of her craft, an Oscar-winning actress who was forced to abandon her art for a role she could never escape. She was the ultimate outsider, in her own family, in the Hollywood system, and finally, in the royal court she was purchased to save. For some, especially the old families of Monaco, the explanation for this dynasty of heartbreak is not found in circumstance, but in a 700-year-old whisper. The curse of the Grimaldis. The legend tells of a Flemish woman who, after being wronged by an ancestor, placed a hex on the entire bloodline, declaring that never will a Grimaldi find true happiness in marriage. Looking at the decades of divorce and tragedy that followed Grace's death, many believe the curse is all too real. Was Grace Kelly the victim of a random stroke, a tragic conspiracy, or was she simply the most famous victim of an ancient sorrow? Her fairy tale life ended in a real-world mystery, trapping her legacy forever between the pristine official story and the shocking secrets that may be buried deep at sea. The beautiful illusion she was forced to maintain in life now continues, even in death. What do you think happened to Grace Kelly? Was her death an unfortunate accident, or was the truth covered by the royal family to protect a young Stephanie? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more Golden Age stories. If you'd like to keep watching, click on one of the videos on screen. We're sure you'll love them. As always, thank you for tuning in, and until next time.